Hi there, this is Esteban. We are going to talk today about the Romanesque sculpture. Um, we have few characteristics. The first one is the subject. Now, this type of sculpture is going to have always in medieval times a religious subject. This is because they needed to explain the Bible stories to people who didn't know how to read. Okay, so you can imagine a priest or a monk or a religious person explaining a bunch of people, about the life of Jesus um, in front of one of these sculptures or paintings. Okay, because this is going to happen also in painting. Okay, the second characteristic is that these sculptures were adapted to fit the space that they had in the building. No, so for example, we have that these sculptures are going to be used in the portals or in the capitals of the buildings. Okay, because of that, they usually have a frame. No, this is the typical frame of a capital. Okay, this is the upper part of a column. Okay, you can see this frame is like a trapezoid. Okay, so what happens is that they are not going to have a lot of space because of this. Um, Figures have to elongate, or the sculptors have to elongate the figures or contort them, okay, in order to make them fit in this space, okay. Así que como las figuras, para que entren las figuras en el capital, pues tienen que alargar las figuras, elongate them, or contort them, retorcerlas un poquito, ¿vale? Or in this case, even incline them a little bit. So that's all. That's what we want to mean when we say that they have to fit the space available. Okay. Another characteristic is that these sculptures are considered rigid and schematic. Okay, how do we know this is rigid, or how can we tell uh, this is a rigid sculpture? Okay, well, if you see that they are not representing the proportions of the body in a natural way, they are not representing the natural proportion of the body, of the human body. Okay, this is a hint, or this is a tip about the rigidity. Okay, you can see here they use a lot of straight lines and parallel lines. Okay, there are not a lot of curves. We have the legs of the horse um, are parallel lines, and then we have a lot of vegetal decoration that are also parallel lines. We have another leg, more stems from the vegetal decorations, and finally the legs of Saint Joseph. You have a lot of parallel lines here and straight lines, and this is going to give us the feeling of rigidity. Okay. The other thing is that they are schematic, okay, or stylized, okay, están estilizadas o están esquematizadas estas imágenes. What is the meaning of that? Okay, is the thing is that they rather represent the idea or the pattern that they have in their head about Saint Joseph or the Virgin Mary than reality, or than nature. Okay, so if they have to choose between representing something realistic or representing the idea that they have, or the pattern that they have in their mind about how Virgin Mary uh, have, has to be represented, they are going to choose always the pattern. Okay, so they are not trying to imitate reality or nature. They are just trying to represent an idea to tell a story. Okay. Okay, so the religious subject, they fit the space available, they are rigid and schematic. The other thing is that they are going to represent the main characters larger than the others. Okay, here, for example, we have the Virgin Mary, which is who is larger than Saint Joseph, or is in a central position, while Saint Joseph is one of the sides. He is considered the husband, okay, but he is considered to be less important than the Virgin Mary, okay. And we have that in painting also. You will see the representation of Jesus or God or the Virgin Mary is always going to be larger than the other characters, okay. Um, Finally, we have to be able to tell the difference between a relief and a freestanding sculpture. Okay, this is a relief because this has been carved in a part of or into a part of the building. Okay, which is a capital here. Okay, but if we have a sculpture that it is not attached to any part of a building, and we can take this home, for example, or we can take this to a museum or to another church. Okay, this means that we have an object that we can move from one point to another, and this is what we call a freestanding sculpture. Okay, let's see one example here because I want to explain something about this. Okay, if if I ask you to describe this sculpture, for example, I don't want you just to tell me that the okay, I know that you don't know a lot, or you don't have to know a lot about the Bible stories, so you can tell me this is a religious subject. Even if you don't know the story, you have to know that there is always a religious subject, so this is pretty easy. But the you can not only say this is rigid and schematic, you have to try to find some examples in the sculpture that support your idea. No, so this is rigid because of the parallel lines that we have representing um, representing the coat of mail of the soldiers, no, or the straight lines of the different arms of the soldiers, no. So you can see they are not using curves lines, no. So for example, you could have this arm uh, bend it a little bit, but instead of that you have the straight lines, and that is going to give uh, to give to give you feeling of rigidity, no. So you have to find examples. Okay, so why is this a schematic, an schematic sculpture? Because they are representing the soldiers. They all look the same person, you know, with the same coat. So so basically, they are not trying to represent a specific soldier that you can recognize as a person, but they are just representing the idea of soldiers. Here we have a character we can recognize because of the crown, no? He would be Herod, okay? But you know, they are not, they are representing a pattern rather than the nature, okay, or reality. So, um, mm, for another example, Here we have a larger character, which would be the King Herod, okay, because he is more important, or he in this story he's more important, okay. So he's going to be represented a little bit larger, um, or he's standing out a little bit more than the others, okay. Um, and that's all. Well, you always have to say that these sculptures were painted in bright colors, even though if now after 1,000 years we can see that we we see that they don't have any color, but they were painted in bright colors. Okay, we have the example of of uh, the the Battle Majesty, you know, this Christ on the cross with still with color. Okay, after 900 years, it still has color. So you cannot say, please, that they they have never been painted. Okay, that's not true. Okay, so please, every time you tell me about a sculpture, you, every time you describe a sculpture, you have to not only tell me the characteristics that we all know, but try to find some examples that support that you are able to recognize those characteristics. Okay, thank you all for watching. I hope this helps. See you soon.